I'm lazy, so lazy. I'm lazy, so lazy. Have you ever said this saying to yourself? Maybe you sang it like I just did, or maybe you just found yourself saying to yourself, I'm lazy. Oh, so you failed to do something, especially this is around when this video is being recorded. This is around the new year. You have this commitment. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to do this every day. You fail to do it. All of a sudden, guess what? I'm lazy. I'm lazy. And this live stream is about exploring the reason that's a lie. You saying you're lazy is a lie. And here's how this all started. For those that know me, and bless up to those watching the replay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, how this all came up is a couple ways. This past week, when I noticed that when I hear certain words, that come up regularly, it creates this curiosity for me, like that this word has come up for a reason. It's come into my space for a reason. It's time for me to explore it. And for me, I'm a words and spells guy. Okay, what the heck does that even mean? I'm particular about my words because I understand that they create spells on myself and also on others. So I'll find myself reframing at times or really thinking about what I'm about to say or think about what I've said and the spells that they can create. So this past week, the word lazy came up several times. And when I say I'm a words and spells guy, when I hear a word that comes up in my space a lot, I'll go research it. I'll go, what's the definition? I'm looking it up, looking at the root of it, where this word comes from, what time period, what it means. And I start to understand every time I do that, I start to get that the words we in our English language, we have created a collective understanding or a collective definition of certain things when really they can mean so much more. So that's what got me about this word lazy. I want to share some things with you. Uh, because first of all, I want to take you along in this process that I went through when I was creating this when I was in this words and spells thing. So first thing I do is I go by definition. So let's look at the definition of lazy. Unwilling to work or use energy, characterized by lack of effort or activity, showing a lack of effort or care. And then let me see, there was something else. Yeah, slow moving. So when I looked at this, I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Let me realize I'm sitting and dissecting this. I started to see, especially taking look at looking at this as an observer. I started to see that I saw all of these definitions as negative. As soon as I recognized that, I was like, oh, junk. I took an even bigger step back and I noticed something, and maybe you noticed it as well. Look at what the synonyms or what's similar to all the definitions that they said there: idle, inactive, shiftless, aka still, silent. Okay. The laziness, especially I'm coming from a Jamaican culture, so like even this the work ethic of Jamaicans is made fun of. Like in Living Color, for those that remember that show, it's like lazy lima bean. How many job you have? I have one job. Lazy lima bean. You have 13 job. And like if I were to take my jobs or what I do and take my passion as a job, because it takes effort. Passions take effort. You gotta do a lot of things. So at the times when I think I'm lazy, really what may have happened is I really needed rest. So here, let me take a look. I want to break something down for you when it comes to when we say the words I am lazy or I'm lazy or I was lazy or I've been lazy. You're creating your reality. Okay. You're saying to yourself, like even though as I'm going to show, as I'm going to talk to in a moment, you're far from lazy, yet you're telling yourself that you are. So all of a sudden, your brain, your cells are like, "Oh, we're lazy. We can hit the snooze button." Okay. All right, then. Guess what? You are what you speak, and what you speak, you become. So when we say this, and here's how this took another level, because when this word came up, I started asking questions. Like if you're around me, I like to ask questions. I get curious about stuff. So I started saying, well, listen, what was going on? What makes you think you were lazy? Well, I really slept. I had to sleep. I didn't sleep well last night. This happened. It was just like a lot of these things and conditions. And I started to recognize that, wow, really, they weren't lazy at this time. They may have needed rest. Or like instead of them saying, like I had a couple people say I was lazy, I didn't make the gym today. I said, well, what were you planning to do when you got to the gym? They were like, well, I don't know. Well, there you go. You had no plan. If you had a plan, then you would have got your ass up and you would have went to the gym. It's simple. Yet it's not. So let me explain something here. We're going over these definitions again. Let's take a look at unwilling to work or use energy. If you're defining yourself and you're in a situation like, maybe sometimes a person may be labeled as lazy, when in actuality, they may be unwilling to do something because they're far from challenged. Maybe they have yet to get challenged, so they're bored. They're like, "Oh man, why do I got to do this?" Or maybe what you asked them to do, they could do in a second, and then the rest of the time they're just sitting there. Someone may say that they're lazy, yet in a certain way, they're unwilling to work, or in this particular case, they're unwilling to use energy. Is that a situation? If you're saying yourself that you're lazy, is this something that you're unwilling to use energy for? Whether it's like cooking yourself a meal, whether it's like going to the gym, whether it's taking care of your property or whatever it is, where you may label yourself lazy, is there a situation that you're unwilling to use your energy? And what would make you willing? What now? Here's the question: what would make you willing, or what would the conditions be for you to be willing to use your energy? Okay. Think about that. That's one piece. And all we're doing right here is this is what, when it comes to like when we look at the words that shape our reality, this is the first piece of it, checking yourself. If you're using a word and like really dissect and look at the way that you're using that word and what are the conditions around it. So again, this is checking yourself is looking at the word, the situation, and the environment. Now let's look at definition number two. Laziness is characterized by a lack of effort or activity. Now, again, this can go a couple ways. If someone walks by and sees me just sitting there with my eyes closed, maybe it looks like I'm sleeping, but really I'm meditating. I'm being still. Someone could perceive that as being lazy. If I'm looking at this from my own perspective and point of view, it's a really lack of activity. So where are some spaces that I can get active? What's my motivation to get active? Again, these are asking the questions behind the statement that you're making to yourself. Well, I'm lazy. Well, really, well, what's the situation here? Okay. Even for example, looking at your energy levels, if there's a lack of effort or activity, really it could also be like your energy is low. Maybe you're vitamin deficient or something, or in something, or in some sort of vitamin. Maybe it's that like your heart may not be working properly, your cardiovascular system is dinged, or there's something going on, or something imbalanced with your body that's creating low energy. And all of a sudden you're thinking that you're lazy. Third definition, if you look at this, showing a lack of effort or care. This is coming back to, if we're checking ourselves, this is coming back to, okay, well, what's really going on here? Like, what's the reason I'm failing to put in effort into this, or I even care about this? Now, this is checking yourself, but like actually identifying that piece is calling it what it is. Like, okay, what's the reason there's a lack of effort on your job? Well, I don't think I get paid enough. I've been at the same salary for X amount of years. Or you know what? This job is boring. Or you know what? Like, there's so many different variables. The whole thing here is for me to provide these tools and gems for you to really look at the words that you're saying, especially something like "I'm lazy." That's a damaging, destructive phrase, and you get the opportunity to really look behind it and see what's going on for you. Now let's look at this last one: slow moving. Now listen to this: slow moving. What do they say? Slow and steady wins the race. The tortoise and the hare race. Listen, if you don't believe that this is true, you can go onto YouTube. You can look up tortoise beats the hare. There is an actual race of a turtle and a rabbit. And the turtle actually won. The turtle actually won. Why is that, Paul? Well, the turtle just kept. The rabbit was like bink, 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 went backwards, went to the side, tried to go over the railing. So this is this is what happens, right? Like we try to move so fast that we distract ourselves. We get caught up in doing a whole bunch of things. Whereas being lazy and slow moving, you get to see the field. You get to see what's the best decision to make at the time. You get to really look at the whole scenario rather than being like, I'm gonna run and I don't see shit. Start to really look at that. Now this is why I'm breaking down these words. These are the actual definitions of lazy. Now, also, if you look at what I also do is I like to look at the origin. Like, yeah, I go in. So look at this. The origin, Low German, idle. What's one of the things that we talk about all the time, like when it comes to meditation, mindfulness, be still. It's like we're contradicting ourselves. Like, yo, you gotta be still. You gotta learn to slow down. Be like, hey man, don't be lazy. What? Huh? So listen, once you've identified, you checked yourself, you identified your scenario situations, you determine what's really at the root of this. Okay, this is what it is. Call it what it is. Now's the call to action. What's the thing that you get to do to move forward, right? Like, oh, I got a comment. Oh, morning is draining. Yeah, unwilling. Okay, morning. Yeah, thank you, Angie. Okay, Angie is draining my energy. Yeah, so now this is a scenario here that, like, that Andre's talking about, like, she's mourning, she's in mourning, so it's draining energy. People, please recognize that when and there's a quote, I'm failing to remember who exactly said it. I wrote it down because when I was researching this, um, those the periods of wholesome laziness after days of energetic effort will wonderfully tone up the mind and body. What does that mean? Well, in this scenario, especially if you're going to do something like mourning, energetically, it's effort because there's energies, there's emotions, there's feelings, there's senses that are at play that are draining you, right? That are processing, working through. There's a lot of things. I mean, and I think it probably, I don't know. I'm going to get into a conversation on light bodies because I think people fail to recognize that we have many bodies and all these things that we go through in life, like the stressors that we go through in life, they will take and absorb energy. So sometimes when we get lazier, it's like, man, you're going through something. Like I remember when my dad died. Man, I remember I slept like I slept for 2 days. I was just walking around like Eeyore, like, hey, like, or the Snuffleupagus, hey, bird. But so I say this because, or even if like you had a great weekend, like I remember going on New Warrior Training Adventures, having so much energy and expending so much great energy and receiving so much energy. The next day or two, I was fatigued. I really didn't want to do much. So thank you for sharing that, Andre. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's all okay. Yeah, unwilling to move energy. Sometimes you don't have to. I guess the thing about being slow moving and being still, being idle. So I want to that quote that I just read there. That was something I really want to end off with because, again, when it comes to periods of wholesome laziness after days of energetic effort, that's calling into what's your situation and environment. When you're after days of energetic effort, they'll wonderfully laziness after this days of energetic effort will wonderfully tone up the mind and body. Acknowledging what is, like acknowledging what's the situation, what you're going through. And now is the call to action because you'll be clearer. Allow your body to do what your body does. And call it though. Like be more particular with your language. And instead of saying, and here's the invitation as I wrap up this. The invitation here is to stretch your language. If you find yourself saying, "Oh, I'm lazy today, or I'm this," I want you to say something else. Reframe it. What are you really? Well, I was unprepared today. I was think of something else. There's something else there, and start to stretch your mind and your capacity to begin to seek that answer and get to the root of it. And things will begin to change. Your reality will begin to change simply by the words that you speak. So with that, Paul, I'm out. Happy Friday. Yo, listen, man, if you watch, a couple people watching, yo, thank you on a Friday. You could do so many things, and you spent some Friday night time with me. Thank you so much. Bless up to you. I appreciate you. Have a great night. And until next time, peace.